All right, goodbye, Desk. Thank you for that the preamble. Yeah, sorry as well. I feel like I've insulted all of them as well in the process, but that's good because I don't think we talked to them from this point on in the broadcast, so there we go. Got away scot-free. Yeah, we're taking a look at the match ahead. It's the Atlanta Reign versus the San Francisco Shock. This is going to be a good one. I want to point your mind back, Josh, as well, if you can think this far back as well. The last time that the Atlanta Reign beat the San Francisco Shock, 2019 playoffs, when they upset them in the upper bracket. That long ago. That was when the last time the Atlanta Reign ended up beating the San Francisco Shock. They're no strangers to playing against them in these tense circumstances, but I think it's going to be much more difficult.
Yeah, that's a narrative that keeps getting brought up, normally in favor of Atlanta. Like, oh, do you guys remember when they did it before? They took down the top reigning team in a massive upset. That was 2 years ago by now. The Atlanta Reign need to get some different accomplishments, and now is the time for them to do it. I'm serious, Brent. The Atlanta Reign, if they're going to make any stage final this year, it's going to be this one. And if they run into roadblocks left, right, and center, you can give them excuses, okay? The San Francisco Shock, they're the reigning champions. Like Jonathan was saying on the desk, they do look somewhat like the top team coming out of the June Joust. They recently beat the Dallas Fuel in the regular season. So, okay, you can make excuses for this Atlanta Reign squad. But the time for excuses, in my opinion, is over. Atlanta have the quality of players to make a stage final at some point. And this meta, it's perfect for them. If they can't do it now, it feels rough for them to predict them to ever do it this year. And so I think they need to grab this opportunity, grab the bull by the horns, and ride it to Hawaii. Is that how people get to Hawaii? I think it is.
I think there might be water in the way, but potentially millions of years ago, there may have been like a land bridge, or it may have just... Actually, it may just... Is Hawaii like a recent landmass? Yeah, is it like a recent landmass as well? I don't know how geography works. Anyway, I do know that the San Francisco Shock coming out swinging as well, looking at this lineup, and this is a squad as well. I mean, Gator said, I think in their interview earlier today, he was like, listen, we know what the Shock are capable of. This is a team that is so good at adapting in the middle of a match, and that's what they need to be careful of. And it's so impressive, I think, the Shock, year on year, they change out the pieces. The players get swapped in and out. They get new players introduced into the system. But overall, eventually, the Shock reach this point where they are still retaining that identity of being able to adapt on the fly. And this roster right now, it's finally got up to that point, I think it's safe to say.
This is going to be an incredible clash. I love what the desk was talking about in terms of it being a new challenge for the San Francisco Shock. When they beat the Dallas Fuel, it was mostly by playing that mirror of the Moira Lucio compositions. And then they had that one Dorado map where Glista was able to just style on them and get value out of long-range hit scan. This is different. This is them taking on a team that loves to play Orisa kind of compositions, but Atlanta Reign have also demonstrated in their win over Boston earlier today that they are no slouches when it comes to the Moira Lucio comps as well. So I think this is going to be a very diverse match. Both teams probably going to be looking to pull out Orisa compositions when we get to escort maps, for example, or maybe if we go to Hollywood, something like that as well. But for the start of these series, I would be expecting to see the Rush Mirror. That's what we've seen so far on Control and on Assault. And that really just does beg the question, Brent, how good do Atlanta look right now? There was no way of knowing from the win over Boston whether they had the ceiling to compete against the Shock. The only way to know is to see it in the server, and that's what we're about to see as we head into the poll.
Certainly is, yeah, heading into this one. And the narrative, like we've been bringing up as well, considering the last time the Atlanta Reign beat the Shock was 2019 in September time. So we're almost approaching 2-year anniversary of that. There you go. Wait, actually, what the last time these teams met, actually. There you go. So we're seeing some recent history between these two teams. And it was a 3-2 victory for the Shock, so it was a closer affair. The Atlanta Reign, we're going to find out just how far they're going to be pushed here against the San Francisco Shock when they've been looking more and more improved as the season has gone on. And finally, the doors have opened up, so we finally get to see how these teams are actually going to be facing off.
Shock love going for Nero on that on the Symmetra at the beginning to give them early point advantage. Atlanta Reign instead going around the side, and I normally think of this composition as actually being the defenders having a bit of an advantage. If you can stop this early initiation, it does seem to be good. So I don't think the Shock getting that early point presence means too much. And you can see that both of these teams are pretty even right now as they just exchange some chip damage across the field.
Yeah, just trying to land a lot of the sticky bombs as well. You can see Pelican Gonna be using that flight to just take a slide-off angle, a little bit of a detour.
Such an early
putting Nero in check. It is a very early coalescence for both of these teams. They're going to be offloading them as well as they try and just trade them out equally, winning out these team fights. Now you start to see the duplicates coming online. Pelican very close to building up this self-destruct. Finally he's got it going, so he's going to be sending that straight across. Troy ends up going down. And that's a nice little play to open things up here. No one in control of the point yet. As a reminder, the recall comes down. I think that did some damage to Smurf. 1 HP, so low. He's going to get brought down as well as Edison is just cleaning up.
Amazing performance by Pelican in this opening fight. Nero's duplicate was too late in the engagement. It couldn't generate them enough value. And Striker used his Death Blossom as well. But it all pales in comparison to the value that Pelican got. He was something like 30% ahead when it came to his ultimate charge compared to Nero. That is enormous in that fight. Just Atlanta Reign able to absorb the early aggression from the shock, turn it into ultimate charge, and win that opening team fight. That doesn't always dictate success. Oh, great spot though.
Yeah,
Edison
wonderful.
Could have done
They
so much work.
Forcing out the Death Blossom from him as well as the Wraith Form as well. Edison just trying to push them back. The Coalescence. Violet wants to keep his team alive. And they're being battered into the corner here as Gade ends up using that Primal Rage, knowing that a lot of these targets actually can't quite escape from it. They've corralled them into the corner. Can they capitalize off of it? Cleaving through them. Hawk eventually going to be following up as well as he dives in. Smurf committing that Primal Rage a little bit earlier. Will he stay alive? Not quite. Edison was there to try and shut him down, and the point still in control for the Atlanta Reign, not willing to give it up so easily.
Not at all. These shock players are surely going to get cleaned up as well. Violet with the fade back to the rest of his team. They're actually managing to sustain this. And if you take a look at the ultimates on board, Pelican again ahead of Nero by 40%. Both Lucio's with ultimates in this fight, but they're just going to get traded. My eyes are on Pelican to see what he can get done.
Yeah, now you see Pelican actually dropping down. Again, the duplicate comes onto the Diva. Edison desperate to try and remove Nero from this fight, pushing him off to the side with the help of Hawk. But the Coalescence on the Atlanta Reign side, Iris definitely keeping his team in it, healing them up, putting out a consistent damage as well. A lot of ultimates traded. Nero now, it's his time to shine as he's going to be duplicating over to the Diva and building up that ultimate shortly. Sends in the bomb into the back lines. Will it get any value? Not
Edison.
quite. It forces the Atlanta Reign to push forwards, and that might just have worked out in their favor. The Death Blossom, not enough defense matrix to eat that one up. Choi D-Mech, the overtime will burn, but the shock no closer to really taking this one. Smurf trying to even it out with that Primal Rage, but he's forced and pressured away from the point by taking way too much damage. And Pelican, that is going to be a lot of damage being done there. The overtime still burning, but it is inevitable here that the Atlanta Reign are going to be holding on to that, and that is 100-0 in the initial round here of map number 1.
Absolutely dominant performance from Atlanta. Every time the Shock tried to get back into that team fight or into the round in general, Atlanta Reign rebuffed it. Perfect micro disengages, really impactful ultimates as well, and even when the Shock had advantages when it came to their ults, they couldn't convert it. They were just getting kited completely. Atlanta are a scary team on this composition. Why have they been running Orisa comps for the entirety of the regular season if they had this in their back pocket the whole time?
I have a suspicion. Gator said, he was like, oh yeah, we just kind of threw out the rush comp. We weren't really practicing it. We played it like twice. I think that was a ruse. I think this is something that they've had in their wheelhouse, and now they're bringing it out when it really, truly matters. The decider of this map, obviously, going to be booking their ticket to Hawaii to play in the June Joust. And it seems like their secret weapon. I mean, they are really well-versed running this composition. And again, look at that damage that's been put in. Violet's Fade forced out so early here. It might be a window of opportunity that the Atlanta Reign can capitalize off, but they are just trading chip damage for the time being, trying to build up these ultimates quickly.
Oh, Striker falls. That is such a crucial pick for Pelican. It opens it up for him to try and take down Nero on the other side. But if D-God finds Massa, and Violet has been able to generate this ultimate charge extraordinarily quickly, if he can keep Smurf alive, they might try and turn this with Cole.
Yep, Coalescence comes through, but Violet gets taken down. That is a tragic mistake right there. You never want to see that, because guess what? Iris, he's holding on to the Coalescence of his own. Violet, it's like that element of the shock that really... At any point, you never know when they're going to turn a team fight, because normally they can outskill their opponents, they can take fights when they're down players. The Atlanta Reign are shutting this pressure down. They're not letting the Shock get away with what they've done before against these other teams. FD God now putting in that spam, trying to build up the sound barrier. So close, so low, has to back off here. And that's the speed boost disengage to try and bait out that ultimate.
A good work kiting Iris's ultimate, and Violet already built up to 85% of his next Coalescence. This engagement from the Shock should be excellent.
Master sound barrier connects onto 4, but it's slightly better from FD God. In fact, Nero also committing that duplicate. He's going to be sending in the self-destructs. Pelican sends it in, as well as Hawk. Way too much to deal with. Bright lights on the point, pushing them back, potentially turning this point in favor now for the Shock. There's going to be no bodies from the Atlanta Reign. They have to back away from this one and regroup.
Almost incredible from Pelican there. He does manage to pick off both supports, but Atlanta don't have enough warm bodies to be able to flood back in. Nero takes down Pelican. The stickies, those are huge, and that's going to buy the Shock just a little more time. Atlanta were looking for the engage there. They might have forced out a Coalescence from Violet, but that's not the case anymore. It even buys time for Choyobin to get back into mech. What a huge pick-off there in the Echo 1v1.
Yeah, and I mean, they need all of the percentage points that they can get just to get on even footings with these ultimates. Yeah. They're a little bit out of sync in terms of both teams because the Coalescence timing's been off. Like, they've been winning fights that they shouldn't have, arguably, as well, by kiting and disengaging. But now we see Nero just trying to put in, again, that spam, trying to build up the duplicate, the Coalescence to lead it in! No but Edison TP'd into the back. The timing on that was impeccable. Violet gets taken out in the middle of the Coalescence, completely removing that ultimate from the fight, but they didn't have the reform. He just sits and watches the bomb. It's going to be flipping the point anyway over to the Atlanta Reign, especially now that Gate has committed that Primal Rage. It's bought enough space, created enough pressure that Pelican's able to capitalize. But my word, what was that?
The pressure on the San Francisco Shock supports has been immense so far. Atlanta have got a plan every time they go in with an ultimate. It's either kiting or punishing. That time the punish was immense from Pelican. And now double DPS ultimates from Edison and Pelican. Here we go, the duplicate comes out early on from Nero. And again, the backline punished.
Violet ends up going down.
A menace in the skies.
Beautiful work that's coming out here from the Atlanta Reign. Pelican again with the remake kill onto Nero. It's a clean win. The Shock just trying to disengage as fast as possible because now you're looking at potentially the map.
That's what you call asserting dominance. He takes Nero out of duplicate form with the self-destruct and then kills him with a remake. That's insane echo diff.
Soundbarrier comes through, FD got dives with the beat. That could be the kill that really just ends it here. The point has to be played here by Smurf. He has the Primal Rage to try and keep this one going. Death Blossom in the backline. That's Striker actually trying to make it work for them with the Coalescence as well. You are kidding me. You cannot tell me that the Shock have found an in here. Edison using his own Death Blossom, but he's going to get brought down momentarily. And the Shock just about holding on, clawing back. What are we witnessing?
FD God used his ultimate there towards the end of the fight too. The Shock are rattled a little bit here. 60%. Atlanta only need to win a single team fight at 99 to be able to take an early lead in this map. I think most people were expecting the Shock to be better when it came to Moira Lucio comps, but they are firmly on the back foot right now. All they have in this next team fight is Choyobin's ultimate. It would have to be an enormous self-destruct to save the Shock.
Yeah, he's got to try and make it happen. I mean, it's so difficult to try and get that work done, but it might force the positioning forward. And you can see Atlanta Reign playing the point now, pushing the Shock out. Smurf has to contest. He leaps in, drops the bubble, but it's burst almost immediately as it's sent back down. Now Nero moving over to the Winston does not build up that Primal Rage. In fact, they pressure him out and they push him off to the sidelines, only to remove him from the fight once again. Self-destruct from Choi goes down, and well, the recall onto the mech takes out Gator, but I don't think it's going to be enough. They've already boosted right into the backline. Pelican doing all sorts of nasty work. The overtime will burn once more, but eventually whittles down 2-0. And the Atlanta Reign are going to take map number 1 to everybody's surprise.
And the players are popping off. They're feeling it. That's confidence oozing from the Atlanta players. Yes, they're excited with the win over the Shock. It wasn't necessarily an expected victory for them, but they played so phenomenally well when it came to Nepal there, outclassing the Shock on control. We've been talking about it this season so far, Brent, but the Shock have not been the unbeatable Titans on control that they were last season. It has been somewhat shaky territory, but they've done a good job in the June Joust of shoring up those mistakes. The Shock have been good on control. If you can beat them there, you can beat them anywhere. This is a series.
It certainly is. Everyone was anticipating the Shock to come out as the favourites in the Atlanta Reign. Well, they've come out swinging, and they might just be on the road to upsetting the San Francisco Shock. We'll find out after the break, ladies and gentlemen, just how far the series is going to be going. We'll see you in just a few.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
A lot of top DPS players taking part in this series here. As you can see, our power rankings of IBM, Watson. You've got Nero and Striker at 6th and 10th, jumping up a ton of places coming into this week. And then Pelican and Kai as well, sitting at 12 and 19, sitting in the top 20. Not bad at all from either of these sides. And yeah, I mean, it's really just kind of setting the tone, I think, as well, coming into this. A lot of people expected, the analysts overwhelmingly predicted the San Francisco Shock to take this match away. But the Atlanta Reign have been upsetting all of that here with this early map lead.
They've put some hardcore pressure on. And speaking of Kai, he is in here for the Atlanta Reign, coming in as a substitute for Hanamura, which makes a lot of sense. Now, here's my slight issue with Atlanta. They are flexible. they like to play this Moira Lucio composition. They've already showcased how good they were at it with a 2-0 win on Nepal. They're also very good at the Orisa compositions as well, but it requires a substitution for them, with Kai coming in to play the McCree often, or the Ashe, or that kind of stuff. Now, what happens, Bren, if the Shock force a mirror? If the Shock force a Lucio Moira mirror in the rest of these games? If that becomes a trend that happens throughout the series, it could put Kai in somewhat of a sticky scenario. I'm sure he can play Reaper, but there's more to playing Reaper in this meta than just picking the character. The flank timing is really important, using your cooldowns is really important, your positioning in the team fight is also really necessary as well to get perfect. So that still is a bit of a question to me, is how flexible really are they, or do, the point of my question being, can they play both compositions with both Kai and Edison in the lineup, or do they have to make a roster swap? That comes down to whether the Shock want to try and force them into the Winston Lucio mirror.
Certainly does. The Shock, honestly, might be opting into just playing the Orisa comps because, well, when they did play the mirror, wasn't too ideal. I understand your point, though, you know, forcing Kai, I guess, to play something that he might be more uncomfortable with could be a win condition for them. But we're heading over to Hanamura now.
If we think about recent history, the Shock's 3-2 win over the Washington Justice featured a dominant series on Rialto, which was the map where the Shock were able to play Orisa Sigma compositions. The Shock have historically been amazing at Orisa Sigma back Mercy compositions. That was the bread and butter when they won in 2019. So I expect this to really be tough. Atlanta Reign have been excellent at Orisa comps the entirety of the June Joust, but Shock are absolutely no pushovers when it comes to this style.
Certainly aren't. And we're going to see what they're capable of here. Trying to face off against the Atlanta Reign on the attacking side. Pelican tries to get in. You can see him actually just dropped over the left-hand side there. Took a bit of damage, but he's going to get healed up. That is a ton of work that Kai's putting in. Striker having a coach gun to the side. And the Atlanta Reign are going for a bit of a split approach, 3-3. So while the Shock probably try and contest this point, there might be some forward pressure coming in now through the choke point. You can see the Atlanta Reign taking that space now that the Shock are moving backwards. The wall goes up.
2 ticks.
It's a defensive wall. 2 ticks. No one's really contesting this one. The Shock unsure of which side to really pressure. They've rotated all the way around. That's some big dynamite damage. Kai needs to respect the amp matrix though. He needs to play around this corner. Nero onto the point. The ice block as well going to be stopping them. Tank's just trying to rotate in and out of the position, trying to regenerate a couple of these shields as well. But Pelican now back into the fight. The grass comes up by Choi. He's going to eat up a ton of that damage, but too little too late. FD God will fall, and now the beam from the back line. Pelican will not be stopped. That is immense. And the Atlanta Reign come in with a fantastic game plan of how they're going to be approaching that attack.
It might seem weird to people at home watching San Francisco's rotation there be so slow, but they had to give those 2 ticks for free because they were crossing via Kai's sightline, and they were so worried about being picked off as they went to rotate towards the point. It's a gorgeous play from the Atlanta Reign, splitting apart and also making use of their Diva. This is a big difference in terms of the two teams' stylistic choices. The Diva and the Echo pick for the Atlanta Reign, both coming out huge there in terms of splitting their composition up and having an attack from 2 fronts.
Certainly is. And it becomes a bit more difficult to try and do so, I suppose, when you're pushing into this choke up here. The Atlanta Reign looks like they're opting just for the main approach. What a wall from Nero. It denies the Bob. They knew exactly what they were going for. That is magical from Nero, but the Bob is still doing damage. You got to respect it. It kills FD God. They need to respect this. Kai with 3 pickoffs now. Pelican as well moving over to the Orisa. He's laid down the supercharger, and it's in prime position to set up Atlanta Reign for an absolute stonker of a time. No one's touching that in the slightest. 4 minutes, 28 seconds.
Bren, I have no idea how Atlanta Reign were able to win that so easily from the low ground. They got picks in positions where I just can't imagine how the sightlines worked. How on earth did that Bob kill FD God on Mercy? How is that possible? And the San Francisco Shock had so much damage pumped into them on the high ground as well. Kai was doing enormous work from an off angle on the high ground, I believe, trying to pump damage into them with the dynamite and with the shots. The damage boost onto that Ashe is just disgusting. Ashe Mercy is, or rather Ashe Echo with a Mercy, is devastating to deal with. And Nero's May, it just can't do anything. It just can't do anything. He threw out his Blizzard into main, and it was just useless. They all just died.
Yeah, they did. The Atlanta Reign really good at playing these comps. Look at Kai here. Okay, so this is going to answer a lot of our questions.
He wasn't even on the high ground.
Nope, he was just on the low ground. And
FD God's running around in Valkyrie form, and there's a halt into that shot as well. God, the damage from the Supercharger is immense.
Yeah, that is absurd. Kai, I mean, I say it every time I commentate a match with Kai in the server. I always talk about this guy's hit scan prowess. I mean, when he was playing on the Valiant as well, he was really the spearhead for that team in terms of his mechanical prowess. Such a great fit for the Atlanta Reign here as well. He provides so much for them, what we just witnessed there. And now the Shock are facing down that 4.5 minute time bank. They've got to try and come and match that. They've got to try and go toe-to-toe with it. It's a hard task ahead of them. If any team could do it, it would be the Shock.
We've seen the Shock's Moira Lucio comp be excellent when it's come to Hanamura before. They love to take positioning early and then use Violet's Coalescence to engage, normally onto Mercies as well. So Massa is going to have to be aware of that. You can see them just rotating around, taking a bit of chip damage as well to build Violet's ultimate up. And then they're going to look to burst really suddenly out with a speed boost and Coalescence.
Yeah, Pelican's got to keep one eye on Nero, one eye on the objective here. The San Francisco Shock have rotated all the way around. They haven't lost anybody, which is the important fact as well. Troido demexed. He actually decided to boost around through main, and it left him so susceptible from that outside damage onto the side. That could have just completely closed things out now. The Atlanta Reign, I think, are just going to be slowly choking the rest of this one out. And yeah, with Striker going down, they're going to be missing a ton of damage here.
This was a really smart decision from Pelican in this team fight. Instead of doing chip damage to San Francisco as they rotated around and trying to find a pick, he just focused his attention on keeping Nero out. And Pelican now has a duplicate, while Nero has been completely out of the team fight and only has 40% of his ult charge. And it also stopped Violet from generating his Coalescence very quickly. We're 1.5 minutes in and Violet still doesn't have his Coal. That's crazy for this meta.
Just about to get it here. The Atlanta Reign are going to be trying to pull this ultimate out of Violet if they can. That is the win condition, arguably, here for the Shock.
Yeah. And this is where I'm saying they normally go with Speed Boost, Coalescence, and a really fast engage. They haven't really picked a target here, though.
Yep, straight onto the point. It does force the Atlanta Reign to respond. They're going to use that Supercharger. Pelican as well. It's going to be using that Primal Rage that he's built up so rapidly, obviously, in the Echo duplicate form. The sticky bombs get 8 up, but he puts in a lot of damage into FT God just as he escapes. The Shock have been forced into close quarters. They have to wait out that Supercharger.
They're going to be pushing into an Amp Matrix for the next time they engage as well. And Violet does not have another one of these. Oh, hello. Iris is getting pressured in the backlines as well. That may have forced out the Immortality Field. I don't believe it did. I think he still has that available. Amp Matrix popped down as well, doing so much damage to Smurf.
Smurf dies. Yep, Smurf just gets evaporated. And the Atlanta Reign have got so much damage to work with. And this is what these comps are so good at. We've seen it previously, but when you're running these Orisa compositions based around the Batiste as well, you have so much staying power. If you can weather those initial cooldowns that get used, if you can wait it out and bait out a lot of it, you're going to be in a way better position to take the rest of the team fight as it continues. The Atlanta Reign, very good understanding of how to play into this composition.
Excellent, excellent. But now the Shock have 5 ultimates online and there's a minute on the clock. They're going to be expending everything here.
Has to be big. Yeah, both Echo's going to be duplicating over to the Diva, just trying to build up those bombs. Nero, oh my goodness, dangerously close to getting demeched. And look at that, the bomb comes through. It's going to be connecting as well as that Coalescence pushes the targets out. Guy's going to be in a bit of trouble here, and that Coalescence still active, ends up just catching and clipping onto Massa, taking him out of the fight. The Shock eventually batter through. But at what cost? That time bank just got whittled down, and now only 3.5 minutes. They can't even dream of matching what the Atlanta Reign have even managed to get.
No, Atlanta could let them have this round, and they would still have a better time back. But they're certainly not going to do that. There's a Bob to be able to contest the objective as they come in here, and Gator's Supercharger is just going to be raining enormous damage on them from above.
A lot of pressure onto Hawk. That's a good option there from the San Francisco Shock, actually. Just really playing together. But Troy's actually going to get demeched here. He's going to try and wiggle the bomb around the corner. He's going to get back into the mech for this next fight. Waiting back these cooldowns. It gives time for Hawk to get back in his. And now you're going to start to see pressure being applied again as the Shock, finally they've got their lead back. The bubble laid down. Bob going to be pushed away from the point as well. But the Shock are not in a position to fight this now that Smurf has gone down.
Yeah, it is a good boot from Iftigot on Bob, in as much as it stops Bob from contesting the point, but it still puts him on an off angle where he's able to do huge amounts of damage, and every time the Shock engage, Atlanta have a response. I thought that might be a good engage from the Shock, because Gator hadn't had enough time to rotate back to the high ground, but instead, again, they're so aware. They understand how these compositions work immaculately, and Atlanta coming into the next fight are again going to have this Amp Matrix to deal with. Last time, Massa damage boosted Iris as he was firing through the Amp Matrix and just shredded Smurf's Primal. See if we see a replica of that.
Yeah, it's such a powerful combination here. The Coalescence is ready and waiting. Violet now opts to use it. It's going to be hunting the targets into the backline. Amp Matrix comes out as a response here. Doesn't even need it. Pelican just being pocketed in the back actually took out Nero there. Now the Coalescence has faded and Atlanta Reign have bought enough time. They haven't even given up any progress whatsoever. Pelican with the self-destruct comes down. It's going to be the fade dodge there by Violet to stay alive. Doesn't have it for the remainder of this fight, but it might not matter yet. Still, Pelican alive in the backline. Violet just going to be beaming him down there with the right clicks, but the Atlanta Reign have bought enough time. Gator did not fall in that fight. He's going to be going back to the spawn door, and he's going to be building up even more ultimates as well.
Phenomenal defense by the Atlanta Reign. I love how much space they create for themselves on defense. We've seen today so many teams just try and hold their ground against these Moira Lucio comps. We saw Houston do it and Gladiators do it. Atlanta are backing off, creating space for Kai to work with, for Iris to work with, and the San Francisco Shock just can't close the gap quickly enough. They can't finish these fights in the first 10 seconds, and so Atlanta inevitably, inexorably are able to win. They're pushing into a Supercharger and Bob again here, Brent.
Yep, Supercharger. Ready and waiting now. The sound barrier from the Shock to try and even it out. Nero moving over to the Orisa. Might have a Supercharger of their own, but Bob is just contesting up the point. Look at him, shredding Nero. He doesn't have the shield off. He's just being absolutely obliterated off at the side. The Immortality Field was sent flying straight out into the middle of the point, but with Striker going down, the Shock are missing again. Even more damage that could have been outputted. It's all on Nero. Very, very low though, and Kaya, look at those shots. Flick of the wrist, FD got fallen. 30 seconds remaining. The Shock forced to disengage, forced to rethink how they're taking this fight, because it's all come down to this. The map essentially at this point, the best they can hope for is a draw.
Yeah, with 22 seconds left, they literally cannot cap it quickly enough. And it's only Choi Obin again with an ultimate. I feel like this is the same scenario we were in at the end of Nepal as well. Unless Choi Obin's bomb comes up with literal magic, the Atlanta Reign are going to be able to take Hanamura. Our Iris again with the Amp Matrix. The ult coordination and the slowing of the tempo has been phenomenal from Atlanta.
Yep, the Shock try and coordinate the bomb, but they cannot withstand this damage that's coming through. Another Amp Matrix from the back. That is monstrous to try and push into. The overtime goes down, but it will not be enough. The Atlanta Reign. You gotta be kidding me. 2-0 in this series against the Shock. Oh my goodness. You love to see it. Honestly, I'll straight up admit it. I predicted the Shock in terms of going forwards, but if the Atlanta Reign end up qualifying off of this, if they end up booking their ticket to Hawaii, I am not complaining in the slightest. I love to see it when these teams have these glow-up moments.
It's been a great performance from Atlanta so far in the series, but Brent, you've got to remember, the Shock are at their most dangerous when their backs are against the wall. We have seen many times them escape a 2-0 lead and reverse sweep, or at least drag it to a 5th map. These are going to be the most difficult maps for Atlanta Reign to finish out here.
And we're going to see soon enough if they're capable of doing it on the other side of the break. The Shock, one map away from being knocked out again from the tournament in 2021. It happened in the May Melee. We'll see, it might even just happen once more. The Atlanta Reign so close to closing it out. We're going to see if they can.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League.
But a Shock have been pushed into scenarios like this previously, but we'll see if they can battle back this time. The Atlanta Reign holding a 2-0 lead currently in the knockout games for the June Joust, a scenario that not many people predicted. I've been casually reminded that ZP, Zucchini Panini, as I like to call him, has been the one. He did actually predict that Dallas Fuel and the Atlanta Reign to move forwards. I mean, maybe he's the one who's writing the script this week, I'm not too sure. But the point is, the Shock, it's rare to see them looking so cornered. But as you put, Josh, that's often when this team often gets the most dangerous.
It certainly is. They're subbing in Glister and Super here, which is a strategy they went for against the Washington Justice most recently as well. It was that Rialto map that I was referring to, where Super came in, played Orisa a lot for them, Glister on the long-range hit scan, and it's more matching like for like with what Atlanta Reign have in. We'll see Kai versus Glister, and the tank line battle is going to be so important too, as we head towards Hollywood, which is the San Francisco Shock's pick, obviously, because they are 2-0 down in the series so far.
And I'm left wondering as well, what kind of things have they got up their sleeves? I imagine it's going to be something quite similar to what we saw in that Rialto game as well when Super and Glister came in. But yeah, I mean, 2-0 down. If there was any team to come back, it would be the Shock. But the Atlanta Reign, I mean, I have just been, to sing their praises a little bit more here, so impressed at their understanding of how to play multiple different looks here in the June Joust so far. It's just been impeccable. Their understanding of like the win conditions, the timings, how to rotate properly, how do they win against these certain different compositions in these specific moments. This is the stuff that only the really, really top tier, the creme de la creme, excellent teams are able to possess, and the Atlanta Reign have just been showcasing it over the course of this series. This is a team that is so keen to book that ticket to Hawaii.
Absolutely. If this series goes the way of the Atlanta Reign, a lot of the talk is going to be about Shock. Shock didn't make the main melee. Shock didn't make the June Joust. What does this mean for their three-peat potential later on this year? This story is about Atlanta for me. They have had so many critiques this season. What does their coaching staff look like? How are they ever going to be able to reach their potential? We're seeing it right now. A few weeks ago, Massa had an interview where he was talking about big shifts in terms of their mentality, how they approach practice, how they implement player-driven VOD review as well. And the Atlanta Reign since then have been on a tear. They looked like one of our best teams in the June Joust, but came ever so close to getting that perfect stage. Couldn't quite finish it out. But now here in the knockouts, Atlanta Reign are performing on all cylinders. And they're beginning here with Kai on Hangzhou. I've loved this look for them before. And we've got an Orisa Sigma on both ends here.
Yeah, the damage that Kai can put out is ridiculous. And he's just going to keep sending those arrows straight into the fray here. You can see he gets a lot of information for his team as well. Revealing a lot of their positions. Breaking the shields off the back of these arrows coming through. And it's a slow and steady pace that the Atlanta Reign are taking with this comp. They just want to slowly accrue up this map control as they're pushing around the corner. Glister, of course, being forced away from that high ground position, has to take the off angle here. Wants to continue pumping out that damage. Misses the dynamite. You can feel that the nerves perhaps getting to some of these players here.
Kai on a flank there. Shot out the Sonic Arrow, was able to try and get off some Storm as well. Violet forced to use his Immortality Field to keep him alive from Iris' Amp Matrix. Built up much faster there than Violet. But now that they've sustained it, Violet's going to have his own to respond with.
Yeah, it's been flipped around straight away. Another accretion. Choi has been on point with these. He's going to be breaking Hawk out of that grass once more. With Gator gone, and his comp doesn't really have too many legs to stand on. They've got a couple of opportunities, the Atlanta Reign potentially, if the Shock overstep themselves. But this is a team that is hungry right now. They do not want to be going out in a 3-0 sweep. That's the last thing on their minds. And a good defense coming through. They don't let the Atlanta Reign get a single tick.
No, not one in the slightest. I'm looking for Pelican to go aggressive here. He has his duplicate online. They really want to dive Glister and get him out. But Choyobin's Flux stops them all in the choke point and cuts that dream short.
Yeah, Choi has a bit of life to him. FD goes down. That's the sticky bombs coming through. Pelican at the off angle. The Dragon Strike as well. It's forced the Shock into the staircase. Gravitic Flux comes off onto the side here. Pelican just trying to basically keep them trapped in. The Shock rotating up to the high ground, but they weren't ready for this. The accretion knocking them to the low ground as well. This has been entirely set up off the back of Pelican's individual performances. We'll see if Glister's able to try and clutch it up. He sends in the bot, but that res will not be denied. Hawk back in the action. He's on the high ground alone. Glister has to back off here.
All of that damage into Choyobin get traded for Kinetic Grasp, except at the final moment he got stunned out of it. Nero really weak here as well, unable to reconnect with FD God, and this should seal the deal there. Kai with the Storm Arrows takes out Glister, and all of this being supercharged. An enormous amount of damage flooding out of the Atlanta Rain, pouring into the Shock, and they will take checkpoint A. But nevertheless, Bren, it was a valiant attempt. They did a good job of being able to hold on to that, the Shock. It looks like a hungry team determined not to get 3-0. And like I said earlier, these maps are the most dangerous. If Atlanta Rain can get this high ground positioning though, my god, they are so fast up there. This is normally the most difficult part of Hollywood to push.
This is the Pelican flank that we saw earlier that set this up. I mean, beautiful sticky bombs
into
the beam. Beam might not even be necessary, but yeah, you have to keep these players in check. And how often do we say, Josh, how important is this high ground control? Because look, already, FD God goes down again. That was just a damage-boosted arrows going into him. Once you have this high ground control, it's an uphill battle now for the Shock, quite literally. Shooting up to them, the Atlanta Rain can pick and choose when they want to take these engagements, backing off when they take too much damage.
This feels almost impossible for the Shock to contest this. If they try and just go for the payload as they are now, Atlanta can just drop off. What a lovely off angle though from Nero, putting in enormous amounts of damage there onto Hawk.
Violet goes down. Laid down the Amp Matrix. It might set his team up for a little bit of success, but they're being pushed back in the end. Pelican is there again. It's copied up the Sigma. Ends up using that Gravitic Flux. I mean, I am quite impressed with Pelican's mechanics, even on the Sigma.
So
this guy, you can tell he's put so much practice into these niche roles that, you know, there might be the off chance of him playing it, but the amount of impact he's having is just tremendous.
And Shock have lost checkpoint B here because they tried to contest checkpoint A. Because they pushed into the point and were in a spawn queue, Atlanta Rain took the high ground and they've just rolled this momentum forwards. That was Choyobin cancelling his flux in the middle of it, beamed out of the air by Pelican. Pelican is on an absolute tear right now. He is eviscerating the San Francisco Shock with this Echo Pit.
And the Shock again in that classic Shock fashion, investing the ultimates, trying to salvage it. Bob came out at the end there. Glister not going to be getting any value out of that one. And you're completely correct, Josh. The Shock trying to contest that checkpoint A, thinking, you know, again, that kind of style where they think they can win these fights, where statistically any other team would probably have a hard time of it. The Shock, obviously, they're so used to other teams having to respect them and really exerting a lot of that pressure over the course of the series. It hasn't happened here. The Atlanta Rain are not scared of the Shock in the slightest. And you can see Nero, again, putting in that chip damage, but FD God falls again. A reoccurring theme going out for them. Nero locked up by the Halt there. The Dragon Strike going to be doing a decent chunk of the damage to contribute to that kill. It feels like there's no end to this.
It is a team difference, Brent, but it feels like it's all Pelican right now. Here on Hollywood, he has just been unleashed. He was incredible in the prior two maps as well. But right now, Choyobin's behind them, but he's only got 13%. This is barely a flank. He's just going to tickle them from behind, and that's the try shot again from Pelican.
Yep, Glister falls. The res does come off though. Super back into the fight. Super's got to do magic here, but what more can you do when you're playing the Warhorse? Not too much. And Matrix into the back. Violet now going to be putting in that damage still. The tank line of the Shock alive and waiting. Pelican with that duplicate. The beam into the back. No one's taking care of him. He's done so much damage to them. 2 minutes remaining. That will be pushed into the finish line. The Atlanta Rain are looking elite.
That is an unbelievable performance from Pelican and the Atlanta Rain. Oh my word, they are giving the business to the San Francisco Shock right now. It looked for a moment, for that very first defense, like Shock were putting up a fantastic effort in this map. And then as soon as Atlanta Rain took the high ground on checkpoint B, it's just been game over since then. 2 minutes, Brent, on the time bank. That is unbelievable for Hollywood. That puts so much pressure on San Francisco, because not only do they have to complete with time in the bank as well.
Yes, they do. Yeah. That's a hard task, isn't it? It all comes down to I'm thinking, Josh, you know, you brought it up. It's perfectly apt. It's like the concept of taking the appropriate team fights. And it's something that the Shock, in the past, they haven't really shown respect to their opponents, because that kind of confidence can really force mistakes out of your opposition. But it hasn't really been the case as much this year, and especially the Atlanta Rain right now. I mean, we saw as well when we were taking a look at the IMP power rankings. I was like, IBM, sorry. I wanted to say IMDb for some reason. The the power rankings, I mean, I don't think they're going to be starring in films. It might be on Hollywood, but that's not the case. The power rankings showcase, you know, obviously the Shock, DPS-wise, typically they are ranked higher, but the Atlanta Reign, Kai and Pelican, this dynamic duo, so potent.
And now all they need to do is fend off the Shock for 4 minutes and they will have booked their tickets to Hawaii. I opened up this match, Brent, by saying that Atlanta Reign, they couldn't rest on their laurels from 2019 when they upset the Shock in the playoffs. They had to create new accomplishments for themselves. Well, this would be one. This is exactly what people thought might happen for the Atlanta Reign early on in the season. And they've struggled, man. They're 4-4 overall in the regular season, but so close to excellence right now.
So close indeed. And the Shock, you can feel that they must be feeling quite pressured here. They've been in this scenario many times before. It's not over yet, of course. Pelican just going to be laying down the damage. The sticky bombs, the halt into the accretion. Oh my word, FD God deleted. Just taken out straight away. The Shock, though, not going to be giving up just yet. They're pressing forwards. The Mages is laid down, but Violet wasn't caring of his surroundings. Didn't really know that Pelican was going to be taking that kind of approach, and now, well, it means the Atlanta Reign can just walk straight over them.
Nobody is looking at Pelican. When he does these kind of plays, when he makes these moves, when he's putting pressure on Violet there, for example, Nero is not trying to man-mark him. Glister's not trying to put pressure on him. They're so focused on the rest of Atlanta, and it gives Pelican all of this space to work with. That needs to be a change for the Shock. I'd love to see Nero more actively try and take Pelican out of these fights, because at the moment he's losing the Echo battle hardcore.
Now the Matrix. Violet using that immortality field just to keep his team alive, obviously the threat of it, but the Shock just have to wait this one out. And again, time ticking off the clock. 65% was all that the Shock managed to get here on checkpoint A initially. 2 minutes now remaining for them to do a bit more work. They've got ults online. Nero, he can take this aggressive approach because he has the duplicate. In fact, he's going to be moving over now to the Orisa, the halt, to try and lock all up the players of the Atlanta Reign, but he's been forced out of it so quickly. Again, the DPS taking these off angles. Gravitic Flux, is anybody going to be able to touch this on the Atlanta Reign? Gravitic Flux comes up, nobody touches. A bit of a mistake there coming out from the Atlanta Reign. They had the damage and the players to try and win that team fight out, but a slight misstep. And they end up giving the point away here to the San Francisco Shock.
That is a good old-fashioned Charlie Niner. Gator had the Fortify to be able to touch the objective. He just didn't get onto it quickly enough. And Atlanta, they were going to win that team fight. In fact, they did win that team fight. They just lost the point because of it. Now, the silver lining here for Atlanta is that they didn't really lose enough players to lose high ground control. So now coming into checkpoint B, the situation is so different to when Atlanta were attacking. Shock have this horrible task of trying to dislodge Atlanta from the high ground. Kai already finding value with the damage boost, taking out Glister.
Res comes through. Glister is hitting his shots, don't get me wrong. That's a lot of headshots, one after the other. Super goes down, though. You're losing that anchor tank. You're not going to have that pressure, that presence to play around. And yeah, it's the difference between, I guess, this defense and the Shock's defense is, you know, picking and choosing your battles effectively, because the Atlanta Reign, now that they've gained this high ground control, it's so difficult for the Shock to try and push through. Super lays down. Again, that supercharger is going to be amplifying a lot of the rest of their team here. Gator moving down to the low ground as well, just trying to take it out. Choi with his Gravitic Flux is one way to try and break this high ground defense. Doesn't get too much done, but now it's Nero's time to see if he can turn things around. Pelican, though, moves forward. Actually, the accretion going to be connecting here. Pelican falling quite low, might get taken out of that form. There we go, the damage is done. But now he's moving forwards, wants to apply a bit of pressure. That is hubris, it feels like. And the Shock sailing this one forwards, Josh.
You give them an inch, they take a mile. Shock, they got their toes into the front door with that C9 on checkpoint A. And now they're doing a great job of pushing it forwards. They punished Pelican when he went for the play. Surely Kai was win this out. Surely not. That actually, he found enough kills there that Atlanta Reign are going to be able to defend this. That is a game changer. Wait,
they're body blocking Gator.
Pelican?
That's super body blocking the Gator there. And so you look at this from the sides. Yeah, Pelican forced to try.
No, the C9 again, Brent. The C9. They managed to get the objective. That is unbelievable. Super with the body block, and then they took out Pelican, who was contesting on the other side.
That was looking slippery based off the back that Kai got those picks, but a really intelligent play from Mr. Delisi. the fortified body block, so he couldn't even touch the point. I mean, you want Gator to be taking that job. That's again, I mean, a great play in a singular moment there from the Shock. It's bought them a win con. It's bought them an opportunity now. 3 minutes pushing this in. Iris goes down. That's Bob just absolutely obliterating him.
Atlanta Reign, they feel rattled right now. They know that they should have been able to put up a defense, but this is not it. Atlanta are getting snowballed, horrifically bullied back to their spawn doors. Kai taking a tiny bit of healing there just towards the end. But what can he do? He's already found so many picks. San Francisco with all the positioning in the world right now, plus a bunch of ults to boot.
Oh my goodness, yep, Super again lays down the drums. Nero going to be duplicating up. That's 2 Sigmas on the battlefield here for the Shock. And this gravitic flux going to be built up. Look at the shots coming through. Pelican is trying to make it work, but there's only so much he can do. Choi with the gravitic flux, it's good. Catches onto a lot of these targets, Bob included. And Accretion, Bob actually ended up taking and tanking a lot of it. So the Atlanta Reign are still in this one. Kai putting in that consistent work that he's been doing all series long. And they're going to be able to offset that amp matrix that was put out there by Violet and stopping this snowball before it really got out of control.
That was so close for the Atlanta Reign. They can wipe some beads of sweat from their forehead as the Shock invested a ton of ultimates to try and convert that one. They will have a lesser time back, and now it becomes the question, can the Shock complete with time on the clock? They need to be able to do that. Or worst case scenario for them, or rather best case scenario, would be a draw. Atlanta have a slight ultimate advantage here because of this amp matrix. All of the halts, by the way, Bren, from Gator have been fantastic. They're always comboed with some pressure from elsewhere, whereas Supers have sometimes been thrown out without anyone else on his team really following up on them. It feels like every time Gator uses halt, there's a follow-up.
Yeah, the Atlanta Reign's coordination is... I mean, they're just incredibly well-versed, I think, when it's running this Orisa. Still the Shock looking to try and take this fight forwards now with the amp matrix dropped. Gator, that's, yeah, okay, the damage boost coming through. Quick little headshots coming through. Again, the Atlanta Reign, though, answering with ultimates of their own. Hawk with that gravitic flux. Didn't get exactly what he was looking for, but he's definitely pushed them off for now. And Glister still taking this off angle. Bob also doing a decent job of putting a lot of pressure into the back line, but it will not be enough. And staggered kills now for the Shock. That is a dangerous scenario to be in here.
Massa falls, but that's not really an end whatsoever. The spawn advantage vastly here in favor of the Atlanta Reign. The San Francisco Shock need one big push to get over the finish line. That's going to be so hard. There's going to be a supercharger on both sides when it comes to this final team fight. Though Super has access to it a little earlier. If they can get off a huge duplicate, Choyobin has high ground. There are ways that the Shock could convert here, but with time on the clock, there's just no chance.
We'll see if they can do it. Super. Again, the drums go down, but they're deleted straight away. And look at this off angle. Kai pushing deep in. The Immortality Field is going to be saving Super's life. Great reactions there from Violet. Glister trying his hardest. Pelican still putting in the work. Trying to build up that gravitic flux. Moving into the back. The res comes out, so Glister back in the action. But the tanks of the Shock are so low. It's been forced down to the overtime now. Glister now from the high ground, following up on a lot of that work that's been put in. Troy definitely setting his team up to succeed here. But Bob on the point is going to be buying them time. Eventually removed, and Hawk, one of the last ones standing that really can stop this cart moving forward. It won't be enough. Be moving over now to the stall heroes, as you see Gator just trying to make it work in the end, but ultimately will not be enough for them. And that's going to be the overtime push for the Shock, capturing with no time left. So best case scenario for them is going to be a draw.
You can see the Atlanta Reign, they're all smiles across the board. They know that this map is their ticket to Hawaii right now. All they have to do is complete one single tick on checkpoint A with 2 minutes. And they're gearing up, they're ready. Pelican taking a sip. He knows they can see their goal before them, Bren. For the Shock, it's much more murky. They need to both force a draw out here and still convert the entirety of the rest of a reverse sweep. It's so difficult to keep your mentality stable in these scenarios. For the Atlanta Reign, they are also slightly relieved that they were able to stop that snowball when it happened, because thanks to a couple of Charlie Niners, the San Francisco Shock had an opening in this map.
Yeah, they certainly did. Yeah, I mean, a couple of missteps. It's like you said earlier, you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. That's what this Shock roster does. This is a world-class team. You know, they've been through been through many matches with similar circumstances to this one, and the Atlanta Reign are looking to obviously reach their peak so far in this season. A lot of expectations, I think, for especially the Atlanta Reign fans. I mean, those guys, they can be rabid, you know, at the best of times, for you know, cheering for their team's success. And now finally we're seeing the Atlanta Reign reaching that kind of potential that's been promised. And they can see the objective, a single tick, 2 minutes, all on the line right here to send them to Hawaii.
It isn't easy though. The Shock have been good in the past, and that opening kill, oh my word, that must have been a headshot from Glister as well. The Resurrect is there immediately, but Atlanta Reign need to navigate these kind of pitfalls. They don't have Kai on Hangzhou to begin with here. They are going for the Ash Mirror.
And I'll say this as well, these Orisa comps can be quite slow to get going, so the Atlanta Reign, the way this goes, they might just be a singular team fight is what they're taking. You can see the pressure being applied now. They're taking a bit of the corner positioning, Troy eating up a lot of that work, a lot of that damage that was coming through. Now the Amp Matrix built up quickly. They need to get a pick off of this, but the Shock are forced to contest, obviously. Remember, a single tick, and they're getting knocked out of this tournament. Nero falls super next. The Amp Matrix, will it be enough? Violet will pay for it with his life in the end. The Shock desperate to hold on. The res comes through, so Super will be into the fight, but I don't think that is going to be nearly enough to stave them away. A last-ditch effort now from Glister as he sends in Bob. Super and Troy still putting in a tremendous amount of work. It has evened it up into an even exchange. Surely not. Troy cancelled out of the grass. Gravilic Flux in the end. It's going to be cancelled out as he's taken out of the duplicate form. Nero might be making it work. Duplicates over to the BAP. The Immortality Field to keep them alive for just a moment. Massa so low, but a Hulk pulls them together. The Atlanta Reign, they can taste victory. They can taste it. It is so close. Nero forced out of that duplicate form again. Brought down, surely not. That will be it. The Atlanta Reign taking away the series with that win. You can see how much it meant for them, and that will be the second time the San Francisco Shock have been denied going to Hawaii and taking part in the tournaments.
Both times a 3-0, previously in the main melee by the eventual champions. Is it a good omen for Atlanta? They don't care right now. All they care about is that they've booked their tickets. It's the June Joust tournament. That's where Atlanta Reign are going, straight to Hawaii, baby. And this is the largest accomplishment that this team has had since 2019, when they were just a blip on the radar for Shock's path through that lower bracket. You can see exactly what it means to these players, this organization. They have reached their potential at this point. But how far can they go? This team is dangerous, absolutely dangerous. To dismiss the San Francisco Shock in a 3-0 fashion takes serious skill. And this is a well-rounded roster as well. I really do not know, Bren, which is the better team coming out of North America right now. But both of them look wildly good in their own separate ways.
Just tremendous stuff, isn't it? I mean, the Atlanta Reign, they're out of their seats, of course, celebrating. And the Shock with a rude awakening, I think, as well to the 2021 season. It looked like they had found their footing and they were back to that former form, but just like that, as quickly as it comes, they're reminded very quickly that they are still immortal. And in North America, the amount of teams that can really hold a candle to them now, I mean, you can almost count them on your hand, which before, in previous years, has not been the case. But it's not about the Shock, it's about the Atlanta Reign. This team and their victory as well in a 3-0 fashion. You got to hammer it home as well. The last time the Atlanta Reign beat the Shock was almost 2 years ago in 2019. And our player of the match presented by Xfinity, it's going to be going to, it could have gone to multiple players, but we're going to be giving it to Pelican this time around. A lot of the timings that he was getting on the flanks, the damage he was doing, his echo play, I think, in general as well, was something that really was showcased as well as a bit of a difference in this series, because it didn't matter what role he was taking on, whether it was the Sigma or the D.Va. I mean, the guy was just perfectly suited towards it.
I mean, look at him using the immortality frames there to dodge an accretion coming out from Chiobin. His mechanical skill is unbelievable on Echo.
It's ridiculous.
And he's also got the flexibility to play any hero that he duplicates to perfection as well. This guy might be the best Echo in the world right now. It's a little early to call before North America, or rather before the East meets the West. I suppose we do actually have some European teams in the North American region as well, in the Western region. But nevertheless, Pelican is absolutely one of the contenders for the best Echo in the world right now. He is a nutcase when it comes to this hero. Look at this as well. Less than 4 deaths per 10 minutes compared to 15 final blows. He is just absurd and was not getting punished, looked at, focused in the slightest in this match.
Yep, unchecked almost the entire time. And he's a dangerous guy to leave unleashed, I think. Pushing out as we saw, and we saw witness today in the 3-0 victory. Unbelievable stuff. Obviously, coming up next, we have an interview with Kai, but that's our knockouts concluded. I believe the Atlanta Reign as well are expected to play against the New York Excelsior as their first match in Hawaii was going to be taking place. That is going to be spicy as well, because the New York Excelsior was a bit of an upset in itself as well. So we're going to see how those two teams match up next week as well. But obviously, the Overwatch League action does not end just yet. On the other side of this break, we have that interview coming up, and the Watchpoint crew are going to be breaking down everything that we've witnessed today, and probably going to be crying as well, because I think all of them got their predictions wrong. So there we go. We got that as well to look forward to. So we'll see you on the other side of the break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. Even more Overwatch action and breakdown coming up after this.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to the Watchpoint Post Show presented by IBM. We're joined now by everyone, Kai from Atlanta Reign. Congratulations on making it to the June Joust and going to Hawaii, Kai.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, let's just dive right into it. I'm gonna be honest, bro. I don't think a lot of people would have predicted Atlanta Reign's win today against the San Francisco Shock. How were you guys able to beat the San Francisco Shock with a 3-0 record?
Honestly, we thought it was going to be way harder than that, but turns out it was really easy. I'm not really sure. Like, you can tell what they're going to play just by like what players they're going to put in, but we just played like mostly our style, and yeah, it worked out.
Did you guys sort of, before going into the match, you guys sort of knew what San Francisco Shock was going to roll with in your match with you guys?
Yeah, like when they have like Striker and Smurfin, it's kind of like, and FD God, they choose to run the rush stuff, and then Super decided to put Super on Orisa as well in a previous match, so we knew the Anglista is going to be double shield mirror on Hollywood. So
you guys sort of did you guys sort of change your play style according to which player and like what composition the San Francisco Shock came up with?
Yeah, kind of, but like a lot of like strategic things were just like our style, not like based on them. So like yeah, just played our game and we won. Okay.
So you guys sort of played your own game, but at the same time, you guys sort of knew like what San Francisco Shock was going to roll with, depending on what players came in. So that sort of helped you guys as well.
Yeah.
All right, interesting. All right, thank you. And my last question for you, Kai, is your first match, of course, in Hawaii is going to be from the APAC team. It's none other than NYXL. What are your personal thoughts on the NYXL right now, currently, and what are your plans to shut them down?
I'll be honest, I haven't watched any of their games, so I'm not sure what to expect, but I'm sure we'll beat them.
I love your honesty. I mean, if you don't know, just I'm really thankful that you were straight up with me. So you do have that confidence. So I'm gonna trust you on that. And with that being said, thank you so much for the interview, Kai, and good luck in Hawaii. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, let's head back to the desk.
Absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Danny. Thank you so much, Kai, of course. And congratulations to the Atlanta Reign. What a dominant showing that was from Atlanta. I absolutely loathe myself right now for my Prits. What is life anyway? There's that one time I'm going against Atlanta. Of course, they're winning. And then, I don't know, it's a whole thing. I'm sure a lot of people out there are feeling me on this one. Now, I gotta be real though, throughout this series, it never really looked like Atlanta Reign is on the back foot. They had it under control, they got to play not just their style, but also they were the one dictating the pace when they went up against the San Francisco Shock, who was not really able to put a wrench in their wheel at all.
Yeah, the way I'd like to describe this is kind of that Atlanta Reign, they forced San Francisco Shock to take so many steps before the actual engages. So it was sort of what I hit on before the game actually went down, whereas Dallas Fuel, they play very rapid, they play very fast, they dive in, they go aggressive. San Francisco Shock, they like being more perfect in their engagement, so they take their time to set up perfectly, get proper engagements up and running. But that time, it opens a window of opportunity for Kai to hit shots like these, just taking Violet out, taking FD God out. He gets these angles because the Shock are not playing as aggressive as the Dallas Fuel. Now, that could be a blessing and a curse for the San Francisco Shock. Sometimes you go with these fantastic engages, that's why they're back-to-back champions. But against the Atlanta Reign, it didn't work. They needed to play with more pace, and instead you just saw Pelican and Kai, they got so much value on these DPS heroes, and it was a fantastic game from them. They were dominant on this double shield composition, they were competitive and won the control map that we did not expect against the Shock, who we thought had the upper hand in the Echo Reaper mirror, but instead it was Atlanta Reign all around, Costa. I'm really impressed by this team, and I'm sure you'll agree, Costa.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that Gator might have lied to us a little bit when he said that they hadn't practiced the Lucio Mora at all. And if he wasn't, then they were doing a phenomenal job given the little amount of practice. They took it to the San Francisco Shock, one of the best teams, in my opinion, in that rush meta. And you got to credit every single player on the Atlanta Reign. They all played so well. They're firing on all cylinders. And Pelican, player of the match, absolutely deserved. The way that the Shock were playing is they were always trying to find solutions to Kai, right? Because if you let Kai shoot in the backline, he's going to kill your whole team. But that just left Pelican wide open to get so much space. And that is why I think FD God had such a hard time in this match. It just didn't feel like they ever put up much of a fight, as you said, Zoe. And that's kind of interesting. Even Kai said it himself. It's like, I expected it to be harder. So did everyone else. Everyone looks like fools for predicting the San Francisco Shock, but you can't take any credit away from Atlanta Reign. I'm rooting for Atlanta Reign in this June Joust playoffs. I actually think they have the tools to take it all the way.
I'm honestly very much with you here. It was a fantastic performance, and Pelican definitely huge impact on this very match. Best bird on the server. Sorry, Hawk, but Pelican just did it. What can I say?
Close second. Hawk was very good. Hawk is incredible. Before we
he wasn't a bad bird, but Pelican was the superior bird.
Pelican was the better bird.
So one has to be the better bird, okay? Not every bird can be a top bird. Anyway, let's talk about the first match we saw before this one. Dallas and Gladiators. Sorry, scrolling through my things here. Yeah, no, that one was very close, very competitive. Really the series we wanted to see, but in the end, the Dallas Fuel they had a leg up on a lot of it. We did have a lot of good things to say though after this match, complimenting the Gladiators on, a lot of good adaptation, and they had a good run in the June Joust.
Yeah, and the question becomes of how strong is this Dallas Fuel roster? Are they gonna get away with it again, just playing this composition? Coming into this weekend of the playoffs, we were like, Dallas, now they're playing against all the best teams. They're not going to keep getting away with it. They're 5th seed. They're going to fall to somebody who's playing the Shields and has this adaptability. But no, Dallas Fuel once again proving that they can do whatever they want, especially Sparkle. He individually comes up with solutions to the problem, especially against the Gladiators' very slow style. He's picking up the Doomfist and it looks so effective. I'm curious to see if it's going to keep working, but I keep saying that every time Dallas plays a new opponent. So maybe at this point I should just become a Dallas Fuel believer.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It feels like Dallas Fuel, and I mean, I'm hesitating to say this, but it feels like they are like the best Overwatch League team in the world as it stands. Like the pace they play with, the synergy, the teamwork, and they're making this Lucio Moira composition work when you're seeing other teams fail playing against these Orisa, Reaper, Torbjorn kind of compositions. It is so difficult to do. And so Costa says that, yeah, like how long can you keep it running? The thing is, Dallas Fuel, they're such an anomaly. They're so unique in the way they play Overwatch, the pace they play it with, that you cannot practice against it. So now we have other teams going into the June Joust playoffs, Shanghai Dragons, New York Excelsior, Atlanta Reign. How are they going to prepare for the Dallas Fuel? They're one of a kind. You cannot prepare for the Dallas Fuel. So yes, while we always bring up questions about their composition, can they make it work? I think that's very valid of us to do so. But the thing is, the Dallas Fuel, they're special. And that is all probably why I'm willing to say that they are the best Overwatch League team in the world. Because they're just so unique the way they play Overwatch. And you cannot underestimate the pace they play with, the aggression, the confidence. They're a fantastic team. So it's going to be incredible to watch out, see the June Joust playoffs unfold next week.
Yeah, and I can't stress enough just how important this was for the Dallas Fuel to qualify yet again for our second tournament, because they had to prove that, May Melee was not just a fluke. They didn't just get away because they were a little crazy, It wasn't just one of those, we Chengdu them kind of thing. It was legitimate, and they are playing on the highest of levels. So they got to prove that today, and I'm very, very happy for the players and the franchise as a whole. Now, it is time to look at our predictions. Some of us did really well today, others not so much. Danny, you're in a good spot.
Am I? No, we are in a good spot. Yeah, we.
You got the first one right, so.
Yeah, no, you too.
Yeah.
Great job, Zoe.
Yeah, complimenting you is really complimenting me here.
Yeah, great job. How'd you?
The truth is out.
Wow.
It was all a plan. Yeah, but I mean, we got to be fair here. Like, these matches could have gone either way, really. But this also means that Costa lost a little bit of his lead.
Yep.
So I'm just 2 ahead. Reinforce.
Could be worse.
back at it again. But you're familiar with that spot, so I don't think.
Welcome
it's
back,
hard,
Johnny.
right?
Welcome back. How does it feel? Can I interview you for being last place on predictions?
We don't do loser
Hi, everybody.
interviews. No.
welcome to Watchpoint Post Show presented by IBM. I'm with the lowest person on a prediction. Reinforce.
Person.
I will cry.
How does it
right
feel
now.
to be on the
I will
On
cry
his
like
birthday,
VJ on.
Danny. Have you no shame?
Tears are
His
going to
country's
fall if you
birthday.
keep twisting this dagger.
It's true. The problem is it's a long season still. So
True.
out of Danny, I'm just advising you to dial it down on the gloating.
That's
As
why I
much
stopped
joy
right now.
as it does give
I don't
me,
know
but
what you
it
guys are
might
talking
come
about.
back.
I was silent. I was silent all.
God, I'm so happy
afternoon.
Danny's
Sure.
going to Hawaii next week.
we-
Can't wait for that.
Yeah, actually, he's gonna be in Hawaii. I'm super jealous.
I just
Very
leaked it.
jealous
I'm so
indeed.
mad. I leaked it on the broadcast.
No, it's
right
okay.
here.
That's fine.
Get away.
Well, now we all know. That's how
Hi,
you got back
Dallas.
at Danny.
Atlanta,
Danny
let's
thought
party,
he could
yeah.
make fun of you. Now Danny can't get his big announcement. Now Reinforce took that away from him. So everyone's a loser.
Who
now.
would leak
Great.
something like that?
Good job.
I didn't even know if there was an
it doesn't-
announcement. Did I actually leak
Nope.
it? I don't
I think it
know.
was.
No, you did not.
No one
You
told me.
didn't.
No one
You
told
didn't.
me.
We
I'm
sort
last in
of-
productions. I don't know.
That was like my middle name for our pre-show. Remember, like a couple of them.
No, I scrapped that. I gave
did you?
Johnny the spotlight today because it's Sweden's birthday.
Oh.
So for once,
No,
you're not
no,
the most
no,
important
no,
thing in
yesterday-
that pre-show.
No, yesterday's
No, I
one, the
didn't
luggage
say it.
one. We did the luggage one.
Oh, it's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
So any Sherlock
So, yeah,
out
so
there
you're
might
good.
have already guessed by that one. That's right. If you put it all together, then you might have concluded. Anyway, we're heading into a very quick break, but don't go anywhere because right after we're going to be diving deep into the June Joust bracket and giving you our picks of who we think might be the favorite.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
the Watchpoint Post Show presented by IBM. The June Joust is set. So let's take a look at the bracket with the matches set to start this very Thursday. Guys, looking at this bracket, who's your early favorite heading into this? Starting with you, Danny.
See, this was really hard. Like we saw Dallas and Reign just popping up. It was just so good, and also Shanghai Dragons were really good. NYXO made it. You know, they were the underdogs. It was really hard for me to decide, but for me, I think right now, I'm gonna go with Shanghai Dragons. That's just that Ijegon boop with the help of fate. It's just like ingrained in my mind. And also, even though they lost to Dallas Fuel in the May Melee finals, and now that the Dallas Fuel is in again for June Joust playoffs, I feel like Shanghai Dragons are just gonna come and just look for blood. Dallas Fuel's blood, especially. So I think I'm gonna go with Shanghai Dragons.
Ooh, that's fair. That's fair. See, here's the thing. I'm gonna go recency bias, and it's in a weird way because I don't think anyone would have predicted this, but Atlanta Reign actually looked incredible today. So I'm actually gonna go with them. Not just because of how good they look today, but also the versatility that they're bringing into this playoffs. They have shown in this playoffs, they're the only team that can play the double shield hyper effectively while also playing the Lucio Moira Rush. Obviously, we see some in the East, some iterations of that with the Lucio, the Baptiste, and the Orisa. They sort of play somewhat fast, but it is not the pace that we see from the Rush Lucio Moira in the West. And I think that is such an important composition, especially on maps like Control. So I'm going to give it the advantage to Atlanta Reign. If they can play like they did today, I think they can beat every team that's in the league. So I'm putting my faith in them. The Scrimbucks exchange is popping up once again.
Long time coming, those Scrimbucks.
Yeah. Hodl.
Yeah. I'm actually going with the Dallas Fuel here. As I said earlier, I think that this is probably the best Overwatch League team in the world. They're just so unique. The pace they play with, the aggression. Yes, they aren't playing probably the best composition here. I'd probably give the advantage in terms of compositions to Shanghai Dragons, to the Atlanta Reign, because I think it's the better one. But Dallas Fuel, they're just so unique. The way they make it work is just like incredible. The individual skill of all 6 players, the synergy between all of them, the teamwork is just fantastic. So I gotta go with the Dallas Fuel here. I don't want to predict against the Dallas Fuel anymore until they actually start losing. Now, how would they lose? It could be like the smallest thing, like an Echo did. If Pelican goes up against Doha and turns out Pelican gets the better edge of Doha in that matchup, that could be something like that. But until we actually see that, until we see the Dallas Fuel struggle against some of these double shield teams, I'm not going to predict against them. I'm gonna go with the Dallas Fuel as my early favorite because they just looked so dominant, so strong. When it really matters most, they are a fantastic team.
No, I mean, it's really hard to argue against them, but then again, there's a lot to be said about the Shanghai Dragons or also the Atlanta Reign. Not really about the NYXO, I gotta be honest here. I do think that they're a heavy underdog coming into this, but that's not the point of the segment. The point of the segment is who's your favorite, and I can't not say Atlanta. I can't. I just have to go with the menagerie here. They played so good. They showed us versatility, and they have so much individual skill. The way they dictated the tempo today, the way they took engagements and disengaged as well. It was just so well played and so clever. And they did go up against a very strong opponent, whereas you can argue that other teams have not been quite as challenged. And frankly, it didn't look like they were challenged by the Shock, and that's a tough thing to say considering that it is the San Francisco Shock. But I think it's really hard to argue against the Atlanta Reign. I do think that at least they will be going through the upper bracket to start with, as their first match is NYXL, and I do not think that that's going to be a super tough opponent for them to go up against, as they just look very comfortable in a lot of different compositions. So I have a lot of faith in the Big A here, and yeah, let's see if they can pull through. I mean, we can just make educated guesses, but in the end, it always just depends on how are the teams showing up, which team is showing up, and we'll find out very soon as we're starting all the action on Thursday. For now, we're taking a look back at our best of the day, and once again, there have been plenty to choose from. I'm starting with I guess a best and a worst. It really depends on who you're asking. Best for Fearless, not the best moment for Shu. He kind of started getting juggled by Fearless on that Primal Rage, and then he thought he's being really clever with his spade. That's right. He just stayed exactly where he is. There we go. We slowed it down.
Fade.
And he stood there. And then Fearless looks around. He's like, where did he go?
Oh,
and you see the audacity of him to actually attacked him. Maybe if he wouldn't have attacked him, he would have actually gotten away with it. I didn't see that initially when I picked that. But look at him actually attacking him. So Fearless gets tickled from behind. He's like, yeah, no, it's not a bear. His vision is not based on movement. If you start attacking him, though, like, look at that! Rude.
He's so confused.
It's so funny. I love that play. Shu got away with that earlier, though, already in the week. Is that correct?
Yeah,
you said you saw him doing that before.
I saw him do the exact same thing against another Winston where he fades, starts moving in a direction, but then double backs in the middle of the fade. And it worked, and I thought it was really cool, and I actually almost used it as a best of the day, but decided not to. This is probably why. It's probably better to run away than it is to like hide in a corner and hope he doesn't realize.
I love how just the Winston just like looks around and just stands there, and then as he gets attacked, he turns around and just slaps him and just dies. That's so good.
Big on.
All right, my best of the day was also a main tank play. This was actually from Super on Hollywood on second point. And, you know, although San Francisco Shock lost, I felt like, you know, Costa mentioned this as well. Like, this was a super, like a really, super great move by Super.
Okay.
Body blocking.
Okay.
Super body blocking Gator to, you know, so that they could, you know, get the payload and to get the point, to cap the point. That was a super good move by Super.
Yeah.
Wow.
Super.
Yeah.
But the lower third really makes it emotionally traumatic and sad.
Yeah.
Even though it should be a happy moment. This just turned really sad.
Hold the door. Super. But hey, he held the door, and the San
did.
Francisco Shock got there. That is the moral of the story.
He sacrificed himself. I remember. Yeah. He sacrificed himself for the point.
For the greater
team
good,
player,
of course. All right, talking about people that aren't sacrificing themselves, though, we're going to go all the way back to Boston Uprising on Temple of Anubis, and this was really weird because we're sitting here watching this happen, and Boston is at a disadvantage in this fight. Don't get me wrong, but somebody needs to touch the point. They literally get 1 tick, they get 2 ticks, and then they dive, and then they get 3 ticks. Gator's just standing here, just confused when someone's going to come attack him. So this is one of the worst Charlie Niners that I've seen in a while. Not because they were losing the fight, just because they didn't play the objective at all.
Yeah, hate to see it.
Hate to see it.
I mean,
Yeah, you do hate to see it.
Feels quick play, man.
that's just one of those moments. You're just like, what's there to say? Just watch and...
Just watching and enjoy.
And don't learn, for sure.
Yeah. To cap off the day, my best of the day, we can actually take a listen to it. Why don't we listen to what was my best of the day right here? Yeah, I got a bit of a bold prediction because I was thinking about this matchup, and like Costa's already mentioned, Atlanta Rain, I think they'll play a bit slower, you know, play a bit more static with Adorisa, while the Boston Uprising, they will dive aggressively, playing this Echo Reaper Moira Lucio composition. So we have seen some Torbjorn this tournament, so why can't we see a Torbjorn melee kill, you know, in honor of the National Day of Sweden? I love that. Come on, let's see a Torbjorn hammer kill. I think we might see some Torbjorn. It's not guaranteed. We might see it. And if we do, Atlanta Rain, if they're up 2 or something, just pull out the good old hammer. Just pull out the hammer and let's see what you can do with it. I'm predicting a breakthrough. So there you have it. In honor of the National Day of Sweden, I present to you the 3rd hammer kill of the season. Kai, what an absolute Chad, gets the diva out of the mech. Bam! Right in the face. Bam! I mean, I love it. Thank you so much, Kai. Johnny the Wise knows all. I mean, yeah, I actually got a telegram from him this morning. And he told me to predict this. So thank you so much, Johnny the Wise. I really appreciate it. I tip my wizard hat to D. Yeah, what a homie. What a homie that guy.
Why didn't he do that against the Shock?
Yeah, or why didn't that
It's because both of you copied Jonathan's homework and you did not deserve it. That's right. Doesn't pay off for cheating, does it?
I'll bring the stool again.
It does sometimes.
Very disappointed.
I'm
disappointed. Yeah, actually, it does.
I'm not.
Also, Production, where's my point? Where's my point in the prediction
No, you
standing?
don't get a point for that.
There's no point.
Yeah, I should get a
There's
point.
no point.
I'm gonna die on this hill. Yes, I will.
We'll applaud you. How about
Enjoy
that?
your death,
Here,
then.
Johnny.
I'm sorry.
First bold prediction. Good job, Johnny. Yeah, we're really proud of you.
Definitely,
You did a good job,
definitely applauding you. Yeah, thumbs up in chat. It was bold, and you brought it home. Thanks to Kai. Very happy. It all worked out. It all came together. You know, Sweden's birthday, Torbjorn reinforced like so many good things all in one.
This made up
right
for
there.
all the fourth in prediction standings chaos I've had to deal with from you guys. Thank you so much. We're equal now. We're even. I love you guys. You're the best.
I wouldn't go that far. Anyway, it is time to say goodbye. Also to you, Danny, as you are heading to Hawaii. I hope you enjoy your time. Send out lots of pictures to make us more jealous, of course. What's the first thing you're going to do?
Probably sleep.
That's fair.
Wow, that's very exciting.
I'm being honest. I'll
Popping
probably
off
sleep
over there.
I don't know. I've never been to Hawaii, so I'll let you guys know how it's like. But yeah, Hawaii. Aha. Aloha. See you soon.
Yeah, so we get to see some content from Danny and all the players who are making it over. And we are very excited to see the June Joust tournament starting on Thursday already. As you saw, you okay, Danny? Right, now we're gonna just say good night now because
Mahalo.
Danny's going to Hawaii and we're happy for
my
him.
God, this guy.
Thanks a lot for watching. Back on Thursday. Wee.
See you, Hawaii.
Sure we
Zoom
are
out,
famous.
damn
Yeah.
it. I dare you to zoom out. Zoom out this damn camera now. This second. Faster.
If we keep doing this, they'll send us to Hawaii next year. They're going to send us to Hawaii next one, right? All of us.
Please,
Hawaii.
John.
On the beach.